Hi, hope you're having a great day. You're watching JG Entertainment, and for this video, I'm going to Puss in Boots The Last Wish box office, including Japan's opening weekend, which just happened, as well as how the Peacock release of the movie affected its box office. Which, spoiler alert, it didn't really affect it at all because the movie's still holding great, but I'm going to go into all that. So yeah, let's get started. So let's start off domestically, where the film made $1.5 million, only dropping 14.4% on its 13th weekend. That is absolutely insane. That's an amazing hold for its 13th weekend. Not only that, but it also dropped on Peacock on March 10th, so it's been a good week since it dropped on Peacock. And even with that, it still didn't affect this box office at all. It still hit off incredibly, and I mean incredibly well. Now, this brings the movie's domestic total at $182.6 million, which is once again really strong, really incredible, and kind of mind-blowing. Why? Well, this means the film has officially hit an incredible 14.7 multiplier. Now, what's a multiplier, you might be asking? Well, a multiplier is how much a film can multiply its initial opening weekend. And usually it's about 3 times, especially for big blockbuster movies, it's usually about 3 times, maybe a little bit over 3 times. But this film has been able to multiply its opening weekend by 14.7 times. That is and I mean this in the whole sense of the word, full caps, very rare for any film to multiply its opening weekend by 14.7 times. So wow, which is a great round of applause for this movie. It's really been able to hold off really incredibly strong, and it's been able to get to $102.6 million domestically, which is amazing. Now, what about when it's going to end its total run? Well, it's actually getting really close to ending its total run. So currently the movie is eyeing a total run of $185 to $190 million for its domestic total. So that's actually really strong, really good. Once again, the film opened like at $12.4 million. So for a film that opened at $12.4 million to get to this high of a range, I mean, it's just amazing. Just shy of $200 million as well. Kind of sucks a little bit, but still it hit off incredibly well. And like I said, it's definitely going to pass a 15 multiplier, which is insane. So yeah, alright, now let's move on to its international box office, where we have some very interesting stuff to go over. So, first of all, the film made $3.1 million this weekend for its international box office, only dropping 16.8%, which is super small, once again showing the amazing legs this movie has. On its 17th weekend, you know how insane that is, that this film only dropped 16.8% on its 17th weekend overseas? Really insane. This means that the film has an overseas total, or an international total, whatever you want to call it, of $288.1 million. Really strong. So close to the $300 million mark, which is just, it would be amazing if it ever crossed that. And I don't think it's going to cross it. I mean, it might, but I don't think it is. But it's going to get really close to it, between 295 probably. Now, that it did debut in Japan this past weekend. Very interestingly, after 17 weekends, the film finally debuted in Japan. However, it did have a very disappointing debut. How much money did it make in Japan? Well, it only made $500K for its 3-day opening weekend, which is really small, really small. So it definitely had a huge disappointing debut on the box office for Puss in Boots: The Last Wish in Japan, unfortunately. But it makes sense. It's 17 weekends late. It already released on Peacock. Honestly, if you wanted to watch a movie that bad in Japan, you could have definitely pirated it or whatever, or even just get a Peacock. So honestly, it just kind of sucks that this movie didn't open in Japan sooner. Because I think if this movie would open in Japan, like back with every other market, it definitely would have crossed the $500 million mark, or globally, which I'm going to talk about that in a little bit. But it also would have definitely crossed $200 million internationally. So it kind of sucks that it didn't. But it could have. It's still pretty good, big hit, no matter what. Even though it kind of flopped in Japan, but like I said, it's 17 weekends late, so it makes sense. Now, what about for its global box office? Well, the film currently has made $470.7 million, which is just amazing, really strong, and it is eyeing a global total, or global run, of $480 to $490 million. So for the film's total run at the box office, that's what its projected total is going to be, which is incredibly strong, really strong. It is going to be just shy from crossing 500 million, which really sucks. Like I was referencing earlier, it definitely had a chance to cross 100 million, but it debuted very soft in Japan this past weekend, which really sucked. If Japan would have opened earlier, I definitely think that this movie would have crossed 500 million. Kind of sucks that it kind of got screwed over with Japan. However, this is still amazing, and the film has had an amazing legs. I mean, you saw the holds the weekend, with domestically it's on a certain weekend and it dropped super small, and overseas it's on the 17th weekend and it still dropped in the 16%. Like, that's just insane. So that's really incredible for this movie, and it's so incredible that the film has become the 10th highest grossing film worldwide of 2022, despite being one of the lowest openings of 2022, or last year, for a blockbuster. So despite that, it still became the 10th highest grossing film worldwide last year, which is just insane, really incredible. It beat movies like Black Adam, Sonic 2, Uncharted, Lightyear. I mean, all those films, and they got to the top 10. So that's just amazing. The fact that this movie was able to compete with that, despite it's like not very high marketing, and despite how like weak it was coming from in a franchise that has basically not been touched in like years, like almost a decade. So it's just insane that this movie opened this big, and I'm very proud of it. It's all thanks to the word of mouth. Now the word of mouth was insane for this movie. It had an A on cinema score, which is just kiss. It's a really strong cinema score. It had a 97% on its RT or Rotten Tomato critic score, which is once again just insane, super high up, and a 95 for the audience RT score. So also really high. So clearly everybody loves the film, from fans, critics, audiences, just in general, like mainstream going audiences. Everybody loves the film, and it even was nominated for an Oscar this past year. So that's just insane. It was really amazing for this film to get the recognition that it deserved, because it definitely was an amazing film. I personally loved it, and I'm sure you did too if you're watching this video. And add to that the film only had a budget of $90 million, meaning that it literally almost, I think it did over 5 times its budget, so it's definitely a very popular film as well. So that's just amazing. And it also reached a new milestone by popularizing the new animation style that the film kind of had, and kind of giving it to mainstream audiences, and then mainstream audiences kind of like taking it in and saying, wow, we actually like this. Why do I say this? Well, Spider-Verse 1 was actually not that big at the box office. This movie has been in Spider-Verse 1 at the box office, which is just insane to think about, but it just kind of shows you that Spider-Verse 1 wasn't really able to bring audiences into to watch it, mainstream audiences, for it to reach a high box office number, thanks to like kind of like this very weird different animation style that everybody's used to. So this film was able to capture audiences with its weird animation style and kind of popularize it with the mainstream audiences, which is great. And this sets up greatly for Spider-Verse 2, where Spider-Verse 1 and this film have done kind of the groundwork for laying it to the mainstream audiences. I think thanks to these two films, but especially for Puss in the Boots, which has done so much work for this new animation style, I think it's going to be great for the film, for Spider-Verse 2 whenever it opens, because I think a lot of more mainstream audiences are going to be willing to give it a chance. So that's just really awesome. And also for bringing back the Shrek franchise to be stronger than ever. And I definitely think that Shrek 5 has very high expectations now, and I think Puss in Boots is definitely going to be a big character there, as well as Kitty Softpaws and probably Perrito as well. So honestly, this film just did all the right stuff, and it's just amazing. So yeah, that's what I got for you for Puss in the Boots: The Last Wish, my box office breakdown this week. Tell me what you think about it, all this down in the comments. How do you feel with Japan's soft opening weekend? How much do you like the film? How happy are you that the film has achieved this much box office success? Tell me all that down in the comments. As well as please leave a like if you enjoyed this video. It's very helpful, so please leave a like and subscribe for a lot more content, animation content, just film content in general. Subscribe for all that content. And yeah, that'll be it for this video. Thanks for watching. Hope you have a great rest of your day. And this is Jerry Entertainment out.